Picture this. You open your HOA or condominium association's financial report and you see a $50,000 deficit. Then you learn that 15% of your community isn't paying their dues at all. This isn't some theoretical scenario. It's happening in communities across the country right now. And without the right approach, it can quickly turn into a crisis that affects everyone. Let's talk about catching problems early. The best way to handle delinquencies: stop them before they become serious. Think about setting up a simple system that flags accounts at 30, 60, and 90 days past due. At 30 days, just a simple, friendly reminder. Nothing intimidating. By 60 days, you'll want a more formal notice that outlines what might happen if the situation continues. And then if you hit that 90-day mark, it's time for that final warning that clearly lays out the legal process that's about to begin. But here's the thing. Communication isn't just about sending warnings. Consider offering payment plans for residents going through tough times. Experience shows many delinquencies can be resolved through that simple conversation and flexible options long before you need to get attorneys involved. One of the biggest mistakes I see boards make is inconsistent enforcement. When one resident notices another is getting special treatment, your entire collection system starts to fall apart. You'll need a written collection policy that applies to everyone equally. Your policy should spell out exactly when and how you'll escalate, all the potential fees and interest that might apply, what specific legal actions your associations will take, and how you'll handle hardship situations. Having this in writing protects your board from accusations of playing favorites and sets clear expectations for everyone. Remember, consistency isn't about just being fair. It makes financial sense too. Boards that enforce rules consistently tend to maintain much higher collection rates than those who make it up as they go. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, legal action becomes necessary. When that happens, timing and strategy really matter. Most associations have several options available: liens, personal judgments, foreclosure, or some combination of these. Each approach comes with different costs, timelines, and success rates. For example, foreclosure might seem like the strongest option, but it's not often the most cost-effective way to recover funds, especially smaller balances. The key is working with legal counsel who specializes in community associations like yours. Now let's take a step back. I want to put a little realism in this for you. So we've talked about 30, 60, 90-day strategies. These are arbitrary figures. Keep this in mind. Each community is a little bit different. Some communities have a very difficult time collecting their dues and they have to be very strict. Others say, oh no, we know Mrs. Jones, we know her situation, she gets behind, and she always is good for it. Every time she gets her tax return, she catches up, right? That's your specific situation. So I want to just encourage you, rather than focusing on the specifics, I want you to just look at this from the eagle eye view and determine what works for you, what doesn't. If I'm offering up some ideas which maybe are out of the box for your community, try them. If they work, great. If they don't, adjust. You know how it works. Now, when we talked about attorneys too, there's collection companies who aren't attorneys. They may have attorneys who are contracted with them, but you're not working with the attorney. Not so great. Why? Why is that? Well, number one, their fees are extremely high from my experience. Also, when you're working with a collection attorney, you have that two-way dialogue that you really just don't get as effectively with a robotic collection company. Even some local companies. There's regional companies, there's local companies who are collection machines. I don't find them to be very effective. I find them to have very high fees, be relatively abusive towards the residents, difficult to contact. Attorneys have a bedside manner which just can't be beat. They're able to give your board guidance. They can give you the same stuff that a collection machine can give you. And I call these machines because that's in a sense what they are. They're human machines, collection machines, and they're not very effective. They usually, again, drive up costs, and you're going to see your receivable balances on their watch just swell up. Attorneys are fantastic because they can give you that two-way dialogue. They can tell you this is what we need to do on this particular resident. Collection machine companies will just grind and grind and grind, and they're just going to say, we're going to foreclose if we have to foreclose. And meanwhile, They're pulling cash out of your bank account because you're paying them as you go, and you're developing this large receivable balance, which you may or may not collect. Now, the other thing that I'm going to talk about is liens. For those of you who aren't familiar with the way liens work, when you get a mortgage, for instance, that mortgage company is going to record that against the title. You, as a condominium company, in the event that you're collecting against someone with a mortgage, you have to evaluate someone's equity position. And that is the market value of the community home minus any liens and encumbrances, which often include mortgages and any tax liens and things of that nature. If there's an equity balance in there, that means that the homeowner has something to protect, and that your association would, in a sense, if you foreclosed, you would need to go buy that loan, that mortgage, you would need to buy that out. You would need to pay let's just to use arbitrary figures. Someone has a $100,000 home in your community, they owe 60 grand on it. So the equity position is 60,000. Figure that's about 7.5% for real estate closing costs and such. So 93,000, give or take, minus 60,000 on the lien. Let's just say you're going to have to pay some additional costs and penalties which have accrued on the lien. So you're talking right around $20,000 to $22,000, give or take. That's the equity position that you would be buying. And to do that, you would need to buy out the $60,000 mortgage plus any fees and costs which may have accrued. And you would have to come out of that pocket, on that from your association. And in exchange for buying out that mortgage, you would then own that unit. The resident would be pushed out via foreclosure, and you would own that unit. You would then remarket it. And that presumes you don't know what the condition of the home is on the inside. If it's dated, beat up, which often it is, if you're dealing with a distressed situation, then you need to take some market value off of the asset that you would be foreclosing on. And instead of 93,000 on a gross basis, you might be looking at 80, 75. And it starts to become a lot less attractive. So I just want you to understand what the foreclosure process is in broad details. You can do some additional analysis on that. Talk with your management company, talk with your attorney or collection company. They'll be able to give you some guidance on that. So that's the nuclear option, is the foreclosure process. And it's good to at least have an understanding of it if you don't as a board member. So here's your takeaway. Create a written 3-phase approach that includes your early detection, consistent enforcement, and smart legal action. Document your processes and be transparent about it with your community. If you found this perspective valuable, we invite you to connect with us. Facebook viewers, like our page and follow us for regular updates. Feel free to message us directly with your questions or community challenges. Instagram viewers, hit follow and feel free to DM us with your questions or community challenges. YouTube viewers, subscribe to our channel and check out the video description for helpful links. Visit our website to discover our thought leadership content, books, and resources that can transform your community management approach. Whether you're dealing with the challenges we discussed today or other community issues, we're here to help. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.